In today's video, I'll be joined by Brent Zaradnik from AMZ Pathfinder so we can learn what really works with Amazon ads in 2025 and beyond. Stay tuned today to learn the #1 mistake most sellers make with Amazon ads, how to legally steal your competitors' traffic, the 3 most important parts of a product listing, the best campaign types for beginners in 2025, why you should not advertise every single SKU, and a whole lot more. Brent is the founder of AMZ Pathfinder, an Amazon ads agency he started in 2015, which spends literally millions of dollars per month on Amazon ads. He's hands down one of the most experienced Amazon ads experts I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. So if you're currently running Amazon ads but wondering how to improve, or you're thinking of getting started and want to know the best quick win starter strategies, we've got you covered in today's awesome conversation. Let's dive right in.
Brent, hello and welcome to the channel. Very excited to have you here today to share your wealth of Amazon knowledge with us. For those of you who don't know you yet, what's your story? How did you get started with Amazon ads and what led you to create Amazon Pathfinder, or AMZ Pathfinder, I should say?
Yeah, thanks, Daryl. Thanks for having me on. The story, it's sort of a strange beginning, actually. I was living in Florida in America, not where I'm from, but a different state. And I was working on yachts, actually, working on boats. And I met a guy in the yacht industry that was sourcing products from America domestically and selling them on Amazon. This was something that was just emerging at that time. This was 2015. And this is really when the whole Amazon, let's call it like private label movement, was just kind of starting. And he knew that I had worked in online advertising previously. I'd done some years of Google advertising at a B2B agency. And he said, hey, why don't you help me advertise these products? And I had no idea at that time that Amazon even had advertising. In fact, they had just launched it 6 to 7 months before that. So it was brand new. So I saw that as a wave that was starting to kind of crest. And I decided to jump on the surfboard and try to ride that wave. And I've been doing that for 10 years now. So here we are, 2025.
Here we are. And what do you think is the biggest misconception that you see e-commerce businesses having when they first approach Amazon advertising specifically?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple things that come to mind straight away, actually. So the first one is that launching ads is going to immediately boost your sales. What ads are for, generally speaking, is increasing visibility and traffic, right? That's what ads do. They basically put you in front of a new audience. If you actually want sustainable growth, that's going to require optimization of the ad campaigns, which is an ongoing affair. It's not something you do once and forget about it. And on Amazon, especially optimization of the product listings, because product listings are your beginning and your end for your sales. You don't have the rest of the website to show people to. You don't have a blog. You don't have a social media page. When someone approaches your product on Amazon, your detail page, which looks very similar to other people's, has to be the thing that sells them. So success with ads is definitely gradual. It is not immediate, and it depends on a couple of factors that are not related to advertising. One thing that I think we notice a lot with businesses we work with and sellers I talk to is they think that just modifying advertising itself and like spending enough hours in there, just optimizing the every single bit they can. If I can just optimize everything out of, I can make my business succeed. Well, that's not really, it's not really the truth. It's not the cure to all your problems. It is part of a composite picture versus the cure-all to all these things. And this is something we need to address as an agency too when we start working with people, because they have this idea in mind sometimes.
Yeah, we get that a lot on my side of things as well. People who think that advertising and doing more on Google Ads is just going to save the day. But yeah, same kind of thing. It's a much more holistic picture, and advertising is one piece of the puzzle, but there's so many other little pieces you have to get right at the same time. And I'm interested by what you said there about the product listing being so important. Like, it's true in Google Ads as well. Like, especially our product feed is really important for shopping ads. And I'm all about prioritizing. I'm wondering, is there, like in Google Shopping, for example, the product feed, the title is the most important part of the product feed, in my opinion. Is there a part of the product listing that you think that is the highest priority if you're going to spend time on this, spend time here first?
Yeah, and from my study and many other people who are much smarter than me's study of the A9 algorithm, which is what Amazon calls their, kind of ranking algorithm for their search uh, part of their, product ecosystem. The title is very, very heavily weighted. So whatever kind of keywords you have, lexical match or contextual match, inside of the title are going to be weighted much more heavily in the algorithm. And the other two things that are super important would be the images, specifically the primary image, which acts as your ad creative in many cases, which is very important to keep in mind, and also looks different on mobile versus desktop. And you need to determine which one you have a majority of people coming to your listing on. And your second image, which is usually called like the index image, because the truth is, people look at the first couple images. If you have an awesome image and it's like image 7 or 8, or you have a video, but it's like position 10, not guaranteed that people are going to see that. You really want to focus on the first two images, the title, and then what's important on product detail pages, what Amazon's technical term for a listing is, these days is filling out all of the fields. So depending on your category, there's many categories on Amazon. You can fill out all of the fields in the back end on Amazon. It's fairly technical. They have like it's called a flat file. You just upload this and you have all these different ways to categorize. The reason to do this actually is to give Rufus, which is Amazon's AI, a lot to chew on. So if you give Rufus a lot of information, it's going to be able to more easily answer customer questions and surface interesting information about your product and maybe even suggest your product on other products. So people are optimizing these days. It used to be just optimize for SEO and optimize for humans. Now it's those two in addition to optimize for AI, which would be Rufus, right? So you're thinking of three different things when you're optimizing for an Amazon product listing, but those are some of the key things to know at this stage.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. And it's funny how similar that is to what we do with Google Shopping. It's like title first, images, and then everything else, like fill out every other field in the feed. Like there's a lot of crossover there, I think, between what you guys do with Amazon ads and what we do on the Google ads side of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say I'm an e-commerce business and I'm doing okay with organic traffic on Amazon, but I've never run ads before. Like, where should I even begin? And what's the easiest sort of first win campaign or strategy to test the waters?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you're an e-com business and you're doing well on Amazon without ads, first of all, let me give you a congratulations because you must be doing a good job with your product listings or have a very compelling offer to not be running ads and doing well. It's pretty rare to do that these days. So that's like first thing. Great. As far as initial campaigns, the answer these days is very simple. If you have what's called brand registry on Amazon, so if you have basically a trademark and unique brand, most businesses on Amazon have this. Only if you're doing wholesale or reselling do you not have this. You can use something that's built into Amazon and is totally free, and it's called Brand Analytics. And this is basically a dashboard inside of Amazon, and you can go in there and you can look at keywords. And that will give you a very good idea through one of their several modules what you're ranking for, what you're showing up in search for, what your competitors are showing up for. What I'm saying is you no longer have to guess. Time was years ago on Amazon, you would start an automatic campaign, and that would basically just assess your listing, look at your competitors, look at your category, and say, well, these are the keywords we think you should rank for. Let's put them up against your product and see if they work, if people click, if people buy, what the conversion rate and click-through rate is. But we don't have to do that anymore, Daryl. We don't have to guess. We can just say, great, here's the free information from Brand Registry. Here's information from Helium 10, which is like a well-known Amazon keyword research tool. And there's many tools like it, but I'll just use Helium 10 as a stand-in because it's the biggest one. And then you can go ahead and create manual campaigns. So just do keyword targeting, in some cases product targeting, where you put in the ASIN, which is like the unique identifier for a competitor product, into the campaign and target those. It's more important these days to selectively spend against keywords and products where you have a better chance of converting and getting a good click-through rate and getting a good conversion rate than it is back in the day on Amazon, where it was just do a shotgun approach, advertise everything you can, just be seen on as many keywords as possible. That strategy is not as rewarding as it used to be. It's much better to start a focused, narrow sponsored products campaign with keywords and expand from there. That's basically the thing to do in 2025.
Gotcha. And what are the core ad types that are available on Amazon today? And which one should someone start with? Like sponsored products, brands, display?
Yeah, in fact, do you want to do a quick screen share? I could show you the interface, which might
Absolutely.
be useful for this.
Yeah, let's go for it. I love a good screen share.
Okay, great. So if I'm here and I hit create campaign inside of an account, I am presented with this menu now, and this shows me the major campaign types. So let's go through them real quick. First one here, sponsored products. This makes up 65 to 85% of the spend for the majority of our clients. And this is just what it sounds like. It's basically, here is a product that you are selling, and your creative, notably, like I mentioned earlier, is your primary image. And it's going to show associated things Amazon calls like retail ready, like here's the stars, here's the star rating. Is there a discount? It's going to show the discount if there is one on. If there's a sale, if it's Black Friday, if it's Prime Day, whatever. And that basically is keyword and product-based search. So this is more traditional like PPC. So people are searching for keywords, or people are looking at competitor products. You are targeting those things. Like I said, this is 65 to 85% of spend in most accounts. This is still the majority of spend. And what people mean when they say like Amazon PPC, they're usually talking about this. They're usually talking about sponsored products. The other thing, my favorite one, the next one here, sponsored brands. This is a creative type that is 10 to 20% of spend usually in an account. And this is much more of like a branding play. It's still very possible to get a good ROAS, or what Amazon calls ACOS, which is just kind of a reverse measurement of ROAS. With this ad type, you can still make great money with it. But really, it's for showcasing lifestyle images, videos, slideshows occasionally. And this is a much more, let's say, creatively flexible ad type. You can do all kinds of stuff with it, and you can tell stories. You can make awesome videos in portrait or landscape style. So like, Instagram, TikTok style, or like classic style, depending on where they show up on Amazon's ecosystem. And this is one that we use for a variety of reasons. It's like brand defense, or just we make some campaigns for awareness, and we make others just for profitability. Those are like PPC type targeting, right? And then you have these other ones here, sponsored display and sponsored TV. And these are display type ads. Sponsored display is basically just display ads at scale within the Amazon ecosystem. This is very similar to Amazon's other platform called DSP, which we won't get into, but this is like a simplified version of that. It's like display ads. And this is much more focused around audiences and contextual targeting versus keywords and ASIN targeting. So if anyone's familiar with display ads from Meta, which is like mostly what they are, or Google, where Google, I'm sure, is one of the biggest players for display ads in the world. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Daryl, but this is very similar to that.
Right. And quick question, do the display ads that you would launch through there, do they go across just Amazon, or does Amazon have like a display network like Google, where it's going to go out across loads of publisher websites, not just Amazon, but go out across a large network of sites outside of Amazon as well?
Yeah, that's a super question. The answer is yes. There are other websites they have agreements with that are publishers. If you go inside of Amazon's DSP, they have 28 or 29 other partners that they work with that are all across the web. I mean, you can have your ads show up on like New York Times or like Fox News, or like, major, top 100 ComScore websites and stuff like that. That is possible with sponsored display. It's just that the targeting there is quite basic. We traditionally stick to Amazon and Amazon-owned properties for sponsored display, but it is possible to do it otherwise. We would use DSP if we were going to do something like that. That's a more like targeted effort.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then the last one, the newest one, is sponsored TV. Like Amazon's whole push this year and last year is Prime Video and streaming TV advertisements. So it's possible to get your products on like people's Fire tablets, their Fire sticks, the Amazon like Fire interface built into TVs, and the millions and millions of people watching Prime Video. Prime as a program has like 300 million subscribers. So a lot of those people are watching Prime Video in the US and other countries for that matter too. So this is one that we use with just a few clients. It's usually ones with bigger budgets or have more middle or top of funnel kind of ambitions. But when we talk about ads on Amazon, most people are talking about these three: sponsored products, sponsored brands, and sponsored display.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And what are the common mistakes you see beginners making with their campaign structure, and how can they avoid that?
Yeah, the first one that stands out is actually advertising the wrong product. So
Okay.
just because you have 300 SKUs doesn't mean you need to advertise all of them.
Right.
People get into this mindset where they think, well, I have to get exposure to every single color, every single size variation. This becomes very complicated when you sell clothing, which we've
Mm,
done a lot of work with over the years, apparel, soft goods. You don't need to advertise the pink extra small t-shirt. You probably don't. What actually happens in our data and from talking to clients is people arrive at the listing, they buy the black one, then medium. So
mm,
it becomes a question of where is the search intent for the shoppers versus what are the products that are actually moving. So you want to build on winners, right? The most effective strategy is basically focusing your ad spend on the high converting, well optimized product listings with reviews and going from there. Then you can work down catalog, right?
right.
You just want to build on the success you have. The reality is on Amazon, if you have products that are doing well, they're going to lift the other ones up.
Mm,
People will find your catalog, they'll find your brand, and they'll find other products in there. That's okay. That's fine. You don't need to advertise everything. So that's like mistake number one. Don't advertise the whole SKU catalog. The second, third, fourth, fifth are probably ones that you're very familiar with, Daryl. Naming an organization, easy, right?
mm,
Name your campaigns something that you can actually understand what they are 3 months later. Overstuffing ad groups, right? Let's put 1,000 keywords in this ad group. Well, guess what? If you do that, only a few of them are actually going to receive active ad spend, get impressions, get clicks, and you're going to struggle to find enough data to make decisions, right?
mm.
Not breaking campaigns out for budget reasons. You need to build separate campaigns to segment budget. And then the classic, mixing match types and targeting types. Oh, I got a campaign and it's got broad, exact, phrase, broad, extended. It's got all these match types in one thing. It's going to be a mess to organize and optimize
Mm,
it. So those are some of like the biggest mistakes. But if anyone watching this is familiar with Google or PPC advertising in general, you're probably familiar with those mistakes. People make those same mistakes on Amazon.
right, right. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned match types, actually. So in Amazon ads these days, is it still best to segment match type into, say, different ad groups or different campaigns?
Yes, and you probably get this in your Google world too, but there's a lot of like what I call religious beliefs around like match types where people are like, no, phrase is the best. It always works the best. Or someone's like, I only ever run broad. But yeah, typically the best practice is to break it out separately. So we might have a phrase match campaign, which would be more exploratory, and we would look at a bunch of like root keywords and try to find other keywords in the ecosystem. And then the ones that are repeat offenders that do really well, we'll put those into exact match and have dedicated budgets and higher bids for those to make sure that we're kind of like showing up for those consistently and are kind of like in the fight for those on the ecosystem. So
Mm,
yeah, definitely segmentation is welcome.
nice.
Then you might use broad campaigns for just like a catch-all at a lower bid or something like that. But some people, they have all kinds of interesting strategies. That's one thing that's great about PPC. There's as many strategies as the day is long. So you're going to have people that say, no, I only run broad and I do it at this crazy method with these negative keywords. But generally, you want to segment it out. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Are there any essential tools that you think all Amazon advertisers should be using?
Yeah, there's several. And actually, can I do a screen share again? I have
Yeah,
another
please go for it.
a quick idea on this. Okay, so to talk about what tools work on Amazon, like which ones you should use, there's a couple
Mm,
that I want to show off just on my own browser that I use like for work, right?
yeah.
So we're just on Amazon.com. I have the zip code set to my parents' house, so we get good search results, in the US here. And the first one that I would like to show off is actually called Amazon Search Expander. So if I just put like Easter dress, which is a trending term right now on Amazon, this gives me all these different keywords before, keywords after, and then estimated search volumes just from the search bar here. And then I can actually just download this. I have no affiliation with this tool. I just really love it. I use it all the time. So it's called Amazon Search Expander. And it's just a plugin for Chrome that I pay like, $10 a month for or something. And it comes up with this keyword data. This is
Nice.
really helpful. I love this tool. This is really cool. Another one, if I actually go here, let's do Easter dresses for women. We can see the results. And there's another one here. that is actually showing off the top level category rank and the subcategory rank along with the ASIN here. And this is called like DP Search Preview or something like that. I can't actually remember the name of it. But I use this tool like a lot just to see what category and subcategory things are in. On Amazon, everything is ranked with what's called a BSR. The lower that number is, the higher the sales volume it is. So I can tell just looking here, women's casual dresses, all these are in the same category, right? This one here is number 2. That means that whatever this seller is here, this like $34 product here, they are killing it. They're probably selling a bunch. Notice also that they are number 1 organically. The rest of these are sponsored ads here. But this one's number 1 organically. So this is going crazy. They're selling a lot. Amazon even added this here, 1,000 plus bought in last month. This is a new kind of feature they added to SERP.
Nice.
But that's very cool.
And then once you've got that information, right, you can see that, okay, this product looks like it's pumping. It seems to be doing really well. Like what? Yeah. Like, okay, here we are on the product line. What do you do next? How do you use this information to then improve your Amazon and ads efforts?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot we can learn just from looking at this listing. Okay, what are they doing for the images? It's like, okay, we get a sense of the fabric here. We have an idea what the tag looks like here. They have a video, which is good. Always have some videos. And then they have these shots. Honestly, these shots are a bit underwhelming. I would have put more information in the second one here. This one is pretty much in line with Amazon's standards for apparel and models. Like you have to have the clothing positioned a certain way and a certain kind of like background. So there's not too much you can do there. But this one here is a bit underwhelming, to be honest. I think they're doing well, probably because they just have so many color variations in a lot of different sizes. So they offer a big selection. They've done a good job filling out their bullet points here. And the price is reasonable. Maybe they're doing a lot of advertising and getting that in. But the other thing I'll mention here in terms of tools. Oh, and by the way, notice this, Ask Rufus. Here's the AI we talked about earlier. This is more often seen on mobile, especially because you can actually speak to it. But on desktop, you can also just click through and ask questions. And because this company, I'm assuming, has done quite a good job filling out their information, they have a rich Rufus experience if we were to go and like actually interrogate this and ask it things.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Now, the other tool I'll highlight here is one called Keepa. This tool is from a German company and has been around since like the dawn of time on Amazon. And what this allows us to see is the sales rank, the sales history, the review count, everything. Notice these 3 different boxes I'm kind of hovering over.
Yeah.
This product, it was on the Amazon Marketplace in November, but see its sales rank here is very high. Now, if we go to modern day, it's at like, top 10. So you can see that with Easter, the seasonality of this product is like a big wave, right? So it goes through periods of being not really that popular and then back to being popular. We can see what the price is. So for a competitor, we have a pretty good idea of when they're doing sales. This is, rank again here. And then this is review count. We can see that they've gone from 1,129 all the way up to, just a little bit over 3,000 reviews.
Nice.
So we get an idea of what we need to do to be competitive in this space and what some of the top sellers are doing, right? That's kind of what we're looking at here.
Right. Very cool.
So yeah, Keepa is another one of our favorites. And then the last one I'll show, and everyone who has talked about Amazon or dealt with Amazon probably knows this one. Let me actually select this ASIN and then go to this. So this is Helium 10. Helium 10 is one of the other top tools we have in the space. And there's a feature they have called Cerebro. So what I've done is I've copied and pasted the ASIN, the unique identifier from the listing. And then I brought it over and I'm just running it through Cerebro. Now, it's taking a while because I think that this probably has thousands and thousands of keywords. Requested function available. Great. Thanks, Cerebro. it just decided not to work at one of the perfect times.
We call that Sod's Law back home in the UK. It's like when something can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay, let's just try another random ASIN here. Let's see if this works.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't cooperating with the Easter dress, unfortunately, but we tried another random ASIN, I think that has been run recently. So this provides us with a whole set of filters we can use. But going back to this idea of what keywords are the ones that are important, we can see this dog toy here has close to 10,000 filtered keywords that I can start to apply more filters and restrictions to. And this will give us an idea of who the competing products, how many of them are there, what can we expect to pay cost per click for advertising, how many sales a day do we need to rank for a certain keyword, and what time of year. So this is a tool that we're using as an agency a lot, like looking at.
Nice.
And
it looks
using.
super powerful. That kind of data is just always so invaluable when you're building out your own campaigns. It gives you such like a big head start, right? And tells you where to start and where to go after, and cuts out a lot of that initial learning time. So yeah, I can imagine how valuable that is when you're building your campaigns.
Exactly. Yeah. Going into campaign building without doing some research like this is kind of like going in blind. You owe it to yourself to go in and do the research before you get those campaigns set up and start spending your money, honestly. So.
Right. And then beyond just setting up the ads, like what are the key metrics a beginner should track to understand if their campaigns are working? And what are the basic benchmarks they should be aiming for in those metrics?
Yeah, that's a bit of a tougher question. So I would say the key metrics to track initially is going to be impressions. Are you able to get enough impressions against your keyword? Because you need to ensure that your product is being seen as relevant and is in the right category and subcategory on Amazon. The example we gave with the Easter dress, I think it was in like women's dresses. If you have an Easter dress and it's in like men's socks, even if you have the right keywords, you're in the wrong subcategory, so Amazon will not see you as relevant and they won't serve your ads properly. You might get some impressions, but it probably won't work. Right? There's only some kind of tenuous link between those two subcategories. So making sure you're in the right place in the catalog is number one, making sure you get the impressions, and then start to track your click-through rate, because your click-through rate is telling you how interested people actually are in the product based on what they see from the main image and the title, like we talked about earlier. Those are some of the first ones to start up. As you proceed later, there's other metrics to look at to decide if you should increase the exposure of a campaign or the budget or whatnot.
Right, but at the beginning, just focus on impressions and click-through rate, and then once those are looking good, then you can focus on the other metrics later.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay, so I wanted to move on to some more intermediate and scaling focused questions. Like we covered some beginner level stuff, but now let's give some actionable nuggets for people who are a bit further down the line in their Amazon ads journey. So for those who are watching this and they do have some experience with Amazon ads and they're already up and running and using it effectively, how can they move beyond sort of the basic campaigns and start scaling effectively? Like what advanced strategies do you recommend when you're going from sort of beginner to a more intermediate advanced level of Amazon advertising?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come to mind. Let me try to get to some of them in order. So when you are first advertising, you're just trying to get exposure and traction, right? You're trying to figure out if the product is a fit, if you can run these campaigns sustainably, and if you can do so at a ROAS that's going to work for you, right? If you're just doing efficiency-based kind of advertising. More advanced campaigns start to think more about the funnel and the general overall marketplace picture. So one example that we often are using is competitor targeting campaigns. So we're chasing the brand name of our competitors in addition to their ASINs in particular. With some ad types, you can actually target and try to make sure you show up on their product detail page.
Oh, wow.
So the idea is this, Amazon is a hyper competitive market where nothing exists in a vacuum. Every product you have, if someone lands on that page, there's always an ad or some other distracting thing on there popping up and trying to take their attention away and make them go buy something somewhere else. Well, you can be the something somewhere else if you do the ad targeting correctly. So we spend a lot of money on competitor or conquesting campaigns. We call them both things. It doesn't really matter, but that's definitely more of an intermediate style approach. And you'll also see a variety of return on ad spend there, because in some cases, you're going up against competitors that have an offer that's worse than you, objectively speaking, has less stars, is more expensive. The listing is just not as good as yours. And in some cases, you're going up against that like Easter dress we saw. Like they're, they have 3,000 reviews and they're selling like crazy right now. So objectively speaking, they are doing better than you just looking at the data. So what you're trying to do is get a slice of their audience, and you might see a lower ROAS there. So that's definitely a more kind of like fine-tuned approach. Another one would be just advertising on your own brand, but doing so very carefully. You don't want to overspend on this because you don't want to just end up advertising to everybody that already knows you. You want to just put some money out there, just enough to protect yourself on the Amazon marketplace. So
right, and that's to protect yourself from getting your competitors advertising on your pages, right?
Yeah, because no doubt if they're savvy, they're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah,
if you have an attractive product, if you have an attractive brand, if you have brand awareness off Amazon, which is a great benefit if you do, you should try to defend that as best you can.
Gotcha.
And those are really the sponsored products things, Daryl. Now, if we talk about sponsored brands, we're getting into a whole different category. So now we're talking about, let's make a 25-second video that's, nothing but action, showing off the product features, the benefits, and we're going to target that against our biggest keywords. And in this circumstance, we're going to try to make sure that for the top keyword, we have like the sponsored brand position, the sponsored products position, and maybe potentially even the sponsored display. And this is kind of like a full court press, if you will use a basketball analogy, to make sure that you're kind of dominating the search page for that keyword. This is something that you can do for a handful of keywords that are like your biggest performers, or the ones that are most relevant, most converting for you. So you start to deploy a variety of ad types in kind of a combined arms approach to dominate the appearance of the page.
Nice. And do those, when you're going after that sort of handful of keywords to target and you're just trying to dominate, right? Do those ads typically work to a good ROAS or ACOS? Or do you sort of run them at a bit of a loss, but the goal isn't to be profitable straight away? It's more sort of presence and awareness.
Yeah, that's a super question. I know we haven't actually talked very much about like ROAS and like what's the right ACOS and that, because you get really hung up on those things. That's one other sign of like kind of, I would say early on advertising is like an obsessive focus on ACOS. Actually, what you're trying to do is just have advertising be a contributing part of the whole picture. So in most of our client accounts or a well-run Amazon account, advertising is like 30 to 35% of the sales. Ideally, you want it to be like, roughly 1/3 of your sales. The rest of those should be organic, right? That should not be from advertising. You don't want to have an over-reliance on advertising. So even if you're breaking even on your advertising for your top keywords, that can be okay, because you're just basically ensuring that you're staying dominant for those, or you're maintaining your organic rank on like somewhere on page 1. Being page 1, position 3 organically is like very comfortable, right? You're not paying out the nose for the top keyword slot, and you're just kind of holding a very steady location there, and you're not targeted by competitors for being number 1. It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
So there are circumstances where your conversion rate is so strong for your top keywords that you will make money on it for sure. But there are also times to spend and have your ACOS or your ROAS, be break even. That's totally fine on Amazon.
Gotcha. How important is it, do you think, to leverage product targeting versus keyword targeting? And when should someone prioritize one over the other?
Yeah, I think keyword targeting comes first, but product targeting is like a close second. So the ASIN targeting, the product targeting, that's something that we roll out in almost all of our accounts. There are very few instances where we find that it doesn't work. So I'm not sure if it's like a this or that. We just do both, essentially.
Do both, right?
And it's quite easy to talk to clients because they oftentimes understand, like, the marketing director at a company or the owner of a company is usually like our point person. And they will know, okay, these are our top 5 competitors and they rank for these keywords too. Okay, great. Well, it's going to be really easy to target those. Depending on how much budget and exposure those need, we may make separate campaigns for each one of them or build them and group them into one. But it's just become another method of targeting. The way to think about product targeting versus keyword targeting is simply people are searching for keywords, but with the product targeting, essentially what you're doing is you're following that product around Amazon. So if someone sees it in search, then you can also be eligible for that and show up as an ad for that, even though you didn't like predict or anticipate what keyword they used. Essentially, you're just following that product around. You're kind of shadowing it. So it's just a different way to get to the same end in a way.
Gotcha. Many sellers struggle with ACOS. What are your top tips for optimizing campaigns to reduce ACOS while maintaining sales volume?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. This is like the eternal question, Daryl. The eternal question. How do you optimize for ACOS? So I would say there's a couple things that go into it, right? We've already talked a lot about having an offer on Amazon that is compelling and competitive, right? Let's just assume that's table stakes. That's the first thing. If you're selling a French press, coffee press that's not different from every other French press on Amazon, do not expect an easy time. You're going to have some really incredible price or be doing some amazing off Amazon traffic driving to be able to stand out, right? So let's just assume the product is, 10 out of 10. That's good. In that case, you just need to have a good system for optimization of your advertising. I recommend using software of some kind, an ad tool of some kind, or having a very good system in place for doing bid optimization on a routine basis. Because the nature of PPC advertising, whether it's category or keyword targeting on sponsored products, the market is very dynamic. There are competitors entering and exiting at all times. There are people running deals. There are people going out of stock. There are people doing external promos. So you're going to have to be responsive to the changing market conditions. And something like a tool that has a bid algorithm will help you hew to a cost that's break even or profitable, or you just have to have a person on the team or systems and processes in place to do your bid management. Really, budget and bid management are still super key, and understanding and tracking your organic conversion rate and your advertising conversion rate, knowing what is normal. For some categories, it's really amazing actually the difference. For some categories like apparel, a couple percentage points, like 2.5%, 3% might be like a really good conversion rate, actually, because apparel is usually like a numbers game. People are doing a lot of shopping around. But we have products that are higher priced, let's say $250, $300. And on some keywords, their conversion rate is close to 25, 27%. So on Google Ads, that would be like incredible, right? If you're 27%
unheard of,
Yeah, it would be like totally insane, right? But on Amazon, it's based entirely on category. So if we know that people are looking for this, this like, let's just call it like a sauna device or something, right? We have clients that sell various things like this. And it is a more expensive product. There's only a couple on the market that really look like they're a good offer. This is one of them. It's like, okay, the conversion rate there for some keywords can be ridiculously high. So knowing what your baseline is and tracking that seasonally, week to week, month to month, is also going to help you hew to a better ACOS in general. So those are some of the tips I would give in general.
Nice. And you mentioned conversion rates there, and obviously one of the big benefits of being in our position as like agency owners, right, is we get to see conversion rates and stats across like loads of different clients, loads of different verticals, right? So a lot of the benchmarks for conversion rates are just like in my head. I just know them from working with so many clients. But if I'm an e-commerce business and I only see my own campaigns, is there some way I can get an idea if my conversion rate is good compared to the industry benchmark? Is there anywhere that says that data or anything like that?
There are a couple of ad tools and agencies that will occasionally release, let's call it like benchmark statistics, like Ad Badger, which is a tool that we actually use. They put out on occasion like a quarter four like benchmark report, and it says like the average cost per click for US is like a little bit over $1, which I think is still true. Actually, it's like $1.10 or $1.07 or something like that. Of course, it fluctuates time of year. And in the EU, it might be like 85 cents a euro, for example. Or the conversion rate is 9%. I think a good range for Amazon for ads is anywhere from like 9 to 12%. That's like pretty normal. For some categories like apparel, much lower. For some like electronics, much higher. So there are reports that are put out there by industry, kind of like leaders and sources. I can't think of another good one besides Ad Badger. Theirs is pretty decent. I think PackView, which is a very large ad tool, they put out some benchmarks. Another way to do it is just ask your friends. One of the best things I've learned about Amazon is the community is so great. Like I've made so many good friends in the community over the years, and talking to other agency owners just at a conference and going, hey, by the way, like, what are you seeing for like cost per click in like France right now? Or how's the conversion rate for this category? Do you have any experience with supplements? People can tell you their own data. And a lot of sellers, business owners, brands, they know some of that data off the top of their head. So make friends and ask. Yeah.
Such a good reminder. Your network is your net worth, as they say. So never forget to hit up your network for those benchmarks if you need it.
Yeah.
And here's a question that's been on my mind a lot. Should Amazon sellers be using Google Ads to drive traffic to their Amazon listings? And what's one core thing you think they should do to ensure success if they are using that strategy?
Yeah. So this is something we have done as a service and still do for some clients. So we have experience with it. It's never been like our biggest, blockbuster service that we offer. We're still primarily an Amazon focused and Amazon ecosystem based. But I think what we've learned is a couple of things. Most companies that are doing Google to Amazon advertising, they already have an active Shopify or WooCommerce website, and they're already spending money on Meta and Google to send traffic there. So what you don't want to do is kind of like tear that traffic in two separate directions. You want to determine, hey, these are the keywords that we know are working on our Shopify site. And Shopify has probably better margins than Amazon, even though it makes up a smaller percentage of their sales because, there's no Amazon fees, et cetera. And you want to keep those customer relationships. That's valuable. But what are the keywords that work best on Amazon? And how about for people that are searching, what's a good example? Like blue running shoes, Amazon. People are typing in queries like this on Google. That's obviously telegraphing to us that that person is interested in shopping on Amazon. Great. Let's send an ad to our blue running shoes on Amazon and see if we can convert them there instead of sending them to our Shopify page. So there's like a distinction to be made with keyword selection. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, how does Amazon address external traffic? Amazon only in the last couple of years has really started to wrap its head around what do we do with external traffic. And if you're sending a bunch of relevant converting customers to Amazon, they're going to reward you for it in the algorithm. We see this a lot with TikTok too. We have clients that sometimes will go viral on TikTok or run TikTok ads or do a campaign or something like that with influencers or people that sponsor products and such. And Amazon is sometimes confused. They're like, whoa, here's a huge spike of traffic from an external source. I guess what we'll do is we'll say that this product is popular now. And so they'll start to rank it on Amazon. So it is possible to rank products on Amazon with external paid traffic from Google. Now that traffic might not be at a good ROAS itself. You might lose money on that actually, but you might notice a knock-on effect of the actual organic rank on Amazon when you're combining your normal ads, your Google ads, and maybe, who knows what, email blast, TikTok campaign, Facebook Live. There's all kinds of ways to promote things these days, right? But it's really like a multifold answer. I guess it's not so straightforward.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts. And what you said there just reminded me of something that I'm always reminding clients as well, is that ads are important, but you need to look at the wider picture and the impact that ads is having on everything else, like the business bottom line. So yeah, it's interesting to see that ads, you can still run, say, Google ads at a loss even, but what you need to do is look at the bigger picture and see, is this getting me more organic sales on Amazon, and how does my overall profitability look?
Yeah, it's all about zooming out and seeing that larger piece. One thing I forgot to add, actually, Daryl, is Amazon has something called the brand referral bonus. And this is something you sign up for as an Amazon brand. And you say, hey, I'm going to be sending people from external sources, whether it be Google or whatever else. And you put that tracking code, that tracking tag into the links that you provide to Google or other, external advertising platforms. Amazon sees that, and what they do is actually give you back, I think it's up to 10% on your Amazon category and referral fees. So basically, They put that money in a little it's like a side pot, if you're playing poker, and they will basically credit that money towards your fees. So usually on Amazon, you pay anywhere from 7 to 15% category fees for selling in women's dresses or running shoes, or whatever. It depends on the category. But Amazon will credit you some of that percentage back because effectively what you're doing is driving external traffic to their website. And I think their bet is some of these people are not Prime customers, or maybe they're not even Amazon shoppers. So if we can get them to be one of those two things, well, then you as seller, a third-party seller on our platform, are providing us a valuable service. So thank you. Here's the brand referral bonus. That program is still in effect, and we have that in action for some clients.
Sounds like free money, basically. If you're already paying for traffic to send to Amazon, then just set up this tracking, and then you're going to get an extra free 10% discount on your fees. Very cool.
That's right.
Okay, and looking ahead, what are some of the emerging trends in Amazon advertising that you think e-commerce founders should be aware of, as we go into 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, a few I can think of. The first one is something I alluded to earlier with sponsored brands, but creative is becoming more and more important on Amazon. It used to be sponsored products, your primary image is your ad creative, and that's it. Nothing can be done. We've come a long way since that, right? So we have all kinds of video formats, all kinds of image formats. Amazon is even finally getting into the 21st century and experimenting with a form of like A/B testing in their ads. This is something that we haven't had for a long time. But now we can actually put in like multiple images in a sponsored brands, and it will rotate through, and you can even give it preference and weight to which one you rotate through. So creative and creative refinement is another really big thing. And that means that as a brand, you need to have either a very good creative person on team, or a resource you can rely on, or a mastery of AI to do creative generation and iteration fast and make that make sense. That's also true for your images and stuff like we talked about earlier. The other thing I'll say is AI-driven bidding and campaign optimization and setup. So I know we have, is it called Performance Max on Google?
Yeah,
for years now.
The big new thing in Google that's shaking up everything.
Right. And Amazon is trying to replicate, emulate, whatever you want to call it, some of those things. Amazon hires a lot of people from Google, so a lot of things end up looking similar. But we have this, AI-driven bidding, and even in some cases like campaign setups, where it's basically like, I want to have a campaign that does this, advertises this for this objective. And Amazon will say, okay, cool, we'll set it up for you. Boop, 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 done.
Wow.
In addition to more AI-driven or machine learning-driven bidding types that you can set up inside the interface. These things are fairly new for Amazon. They haven't really done a lot of that until like mid last year. So it's fairly new. And this is something that's only going to get bigger going forward. I mean, I see a future for Amazon where they are saying, we'll handle the bidding. You just deal with the creative. We'll even find the keywords for you. I think that they want to automate and make this stuff easier and easier to do.
Yeah.
So that's the second one.
You just have to look at Google Ads if you want to see the potential future for Amazon, right? Like on Google Ads these days, like I strongly don't recommend most people do manual bidding. There are sort of niche circumstances where it still works, but these days, pretty much all high spending campaigns are having all the bidding managed by Google's built-in AI. So I could totally see how Amazon will get there eventually and in the very near future as well.
Yep. I agree 100%. They've telegraphed this publicly, and I've heard about it from Amazon people at events and stuff. The last thing I'd say for trends is just like brand story. So Amazon wants companies to be here, I'm establishing a brand like on Amazon, and its presence and appearance is going to look professional. It's not just here's another sales channel. I throw my stuff up on Amazon, I optimize it a bit, forget about it. It's like, no, you're engaged and involved in the Amazon ecosystem. One example I'll give is what's called like a brand store, where basically you have a micro website sort of in Amazon, and you can send ads here already. This has been a feature for years, but they're trying to add more things to that, like more interactive modules, more videos, more social components. So yeah, brand story, brand presence on the marketplace is another one for the future.
Very cool. Brent, wow, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all these strategies and insights. If people are watching this and they need more help with their Amazon ads, like where can they go to find out more about you or about AMZ Pathfinder?
Yeah, sure. You can go to amzpathfinder.com. That's our main website. Okay. You can find me on LinkedIn at Brent Zaradnik. That's, my full name. That's where I'm most active. And also, if you want to see my personal website, it's brent.bike. That's right. .bike is a TLD, like .com. So you can go to brent.bike. That's my personal website. It has links to socials and other stuff like that.
Nice. But, we'll put all those links in the description below this video for anyone who wants to find you. And finally, Brent, what's your one piece of actionable advice you'd give to every e-commerce founder looking to maximize their results with Amazon ads?
I would say approach it like a platform to build a brand and not just a place to toss up a couple of products. And the days of Amazon being an easy platform are over. You have to really support brand building, figure out how to drive repeat purchases, and make your ads contribute to your overall organic rather than just be like a thing you run. So that's my general advice. I hope it's actionable.
Yeah. All right. Amazing. Again, Brent, thank you so much. It's been an absolute blast. Super appreciate the knowledge bombs you've shared. Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl.
If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love Brent's video right up here where he breaks down the 5 essential stages every Amazon advertiser needs to know. It's a brilliant framework that shows you exactly how to evolve your ad strategy from just chasing ACoS to actually tracking profit, lifetime value, and even market share. So click through and watch that one next if you want to continue learning Amazon ads, and you'll walk away with a totally new perspective on how to grow profitably on Amazon.